President Buhari receives another notification on Senate presidency seat.
I ran the party to the best of my ability as National Organizing Secretary of this party that saw us a victory in 2015 and 2019. So I think we have paid our dues.
Call for interim government. Information Minister dares Labour Party.
If anybody is unhappy with the outcome of this election, go to the election tribunal. But you cannot in one breath be at the tribunal and at the same time be undermining the very, fabric of justice, of judicial system, of security in the country.
Plus, NDLEA and Customs Service extend tentacles on drug war. CBN goes after illegal bureau de change operatives.
This will provide an effective defense line at our various ports of entry and exit to prevent the influx of offensive materials and substances.
Hello and a warm welcome to NTA Network News at 9. I am Henry John and we're live in Abuja. Adela Komi-Okere joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari and His Majesty King Abdullah bin Al-Hussein of Jordan have held a telephone conversation with both leaders, expressing satisfaction at the deepening of Nigeria-Jordan strategic partnership in matters of security and other global issues. A statement about the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, notes that the Jordanian leader wishes President Buhari a successful Ramadan, appreciating President Buhari for naming the auditorium and the newly commissioned National Counter-Terrorism Center in Abuja after him. Nigeria under President Buhari has shared experiences with Jordan in tackling terrorism and its spread across West Africa with support in preemptive measures to neutralize activities of insurgents in the sub-region from the Middle Eastern Kingdom. King Abdullah indicates his wish to visit Nigeria before President Buhari leaves office. Senator Osita Izunasu has formally briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on his intention to vie for the presidency of the Senate and the 10th National Assembly. This was while briefing journalists after being granted audience by the president. State House correspondent Adamu Samba reports that the Nigerian leader also received the governors of Yobe and Ogun states.
Governor Maimala Buni of Yobe State has just been re-elected for a second four-year term of office. He is here to show President Muhammadu Buhari his certificate of return, appreciate him for his support, encouragement and guidance, as well as congratulate him for the successful conduct of the general elections which produced Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the governing party as president-elect and Kashim Shettima as vice president-elect. Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State was also in the State House on a similar mission. The APC governor, whose mandate was also renewed by the Gateway State, presented his certificate of return to the president, saying he cannot thank him enough for making his first term in office more eventful and result-oriented. A similar certificate of return was also presented to the Nigerian leader, this time by Senator-elect Osita Izunaso. Senator Izunaso, most importantly, used the opportunity to notify the president of his decision to run for the presidency of the 10th Senate.
There is no senator today in APC of Southeast or South-South that's older than me in the Senate. And that is an institution that believes in ranking. So I'm the highest ranking senator in both Southeast and South-South. I came to the Senate in 2007. I was in the House of Reps. I've been in the party for 5 good solid years. I ran the party to the best of my ability as National Organizing Secretary of this party that saw us a victory in 2015 and 2019. So I think we have paid our dues.
Senator Osita Izunaso is to represent Imo West Senatorial District of Imo State, the Eastern Heartland. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In other news, President Muhammadu Buhari has written to the Senate seeking the reimbursement of 6.6 billion naira to Plateau and 3.8 billion to Borno State for the federal government road projects executed by these states. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the president also sought Senate's consideration of the Nigerian Data Protection Bill and the Nigerian Police Force College and Training School establishment bills.
67 days to the end of the Ninth Assembly. The legislators are putting finishing touches to pending issues. Plenary took off with 4 executive communications, which include reimbursement of funds to Plateau and Borno states.
That the approval by FEC was subsequent to the recommendation of an interministerial committee. The committee reviewed the documents submitted and carried out physical inspections and verification of the projects in the respective states before making its recommendation to FEC.
The president also sought the confirmation of Abdul Abubakar for reappointment as non-executive director of the Central Bank of Nigeria for a second and final term. Senate rescinded its decision on the 2016-2018 federal government external borrowing plan and changed the financier from China Exim Bank to China Development Bank and approved the conditions provided in the harmonized term sheet.
Communication for the Federal Ministry of Finance requesting approval of the modifications to the financing proposal for the Nigerian Railway Modernization Project, that is Kaduna to Kano segment.
It approved the conference report on the Nigeria Peace Corps Bill and the report of its Committee on Power, which carried out investigative hearing on the ongoing bid to concession the 700 megawatt Zungeru hydroelectric power plant, which recommended the suspension of the bid process till after the completion of the project.
The BP be advised to keep to the commitment made before the committee to concession the power plant only after it has been completed, tested and commissioned.
The Broadcasting Practitioners Establishment Bill passed first reading. Senate urged the federal government to take over and ensure the burial of former President of the Senate, Joseph Wayas, who died in November 2021, as soon as possible and to immortalize him. It also paid tribute to the wife of the Chief Whip of the Senate, Ifeoma Kalu, who died over the weekend. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And in the Green Chamber, members have passed a resolution condemning in strong terms the call for an interim government in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Damiani reports that House members described the plot as unconstitutional and undemocratic.
The issue raised by Representative Uime Idem made reference to the March 29, 2023 warning issued by the Department of State Services, alleging that some individuals are plotting to install an interim government. House members urged security agencies to remain on alert.
The people that are making this call, I see them as the enemies of this country. We are talking of election being keenly contested, won, declared, and yet we are contemplating as to the election which has been declared.
Nigerians must have the appropriate democratic temper in order to be able to succeed.
Nigerians have the characteristics, when they lose out, they want things to be taken back to the melting pot.
I personally want to commend the DSS for coming out to alert us that something was in the offing. It is now our duty to take it from there.
Nigeria is bigger than individuals. You must have a country for you to rule.
Also supported was the appeal to beef up security and enhance screening of passengers at airports as moved by Representative Olajide Jimoh. 10 bills were read for the third time and passed, among which is the Electric Power Sector Reform Bill. It seeks the implementation and coordination of rural electrification for improved service delivery. The Deputy Speaker had, at the commencement of plenary, brought to the notice of members 3 presidential communication seeking approval to establish Nigerian Data Protection Commission, the Nigeria Police Force Training College, and reimbursements to Borno and Plateau states for construction of federal roads.
I wish to request the House of Representatives to kindly consider and approve through resolutions the reimbursement through the issuance of promissory notes.
Plenary approved for the second reading of National Social Investment Program Bill for the establishment of National Social Investment Program Agency to empower and assist the poor and vulnerable in Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And we're from the National Assembly now. The Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, is in Washington, D.C. on a mission to engage the international media on the need to desist from promoting desperate political opposition's foul cry over the just concluded elections in Nigeria. Anthony Forson brings us details.
The first port of call is the Washington Post, then the Voice of America, whose audience, Nigeria, ranks top in Africa, the Associated Press, and Foreign Policy magazine were next in line. The media outfits took on the minister head-on based on what they presumably know.
Our mission to the U.S. is actually to correct the misleading narrative being promoted by naysayers and the opposition, asking for the elections to be cancelled, asking for interim government, generally inciting people to violence.
Lai Mohammed was questioned and questioned, putting him on the spot. He, however, responded this way.
We've come here to balance that skewed narrative, to tell the world unambiguously that the just concluded general elections in Nigeria is the fairest, most transparent, and authentic in the history of Nigeria.
For the second and third behind the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the minister cautioned them to toe the path of justice, which they have, and to stop hitting the polity.
Peter Obi should please stop disturbing the peace of Nigeria. You cannot, in one breath, go to court to seek redress and be inciting people to violence. You and your deputy cannot be threatening Nigeria and saying that if the president-elect is sworn in on 29th of May, that will be the end of democracy in Nigeria. That is treason. You can't be inviting insurrection, which is what he's doing. His statement is that of a desperate person. A Democrat should not only believe in democracy when he wins elections. Why are we not challenging his victory in Southeast, in South-South? Even in Lagos. Why are we not challenging his victory? Because we're Democrats. His voice is loudest, and it's just empty threats. If anybody is unhappy with the outcome of this, let him go to the election tribunal. But you cannot in one breath be at the tribunal and at the same time be undermining the very, fabric of justice, of judicial system, of security in the country.
In retrospect, Lai Mohammed was quick to remind them there can be Democrats in Nigeria like the APC.
There's no way Obi could be president under this under the 2023 general election. There's no way. And they all know, both Atiku and Obi know that there's no pathway to victory for them because they failed to meet the constitutional requirement of being a president in Nigeria.
In Washington, D.C., Anthony Forson, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. Time for a break. Please stay. Welcome back. Let's now talk politics. The All Progressives Congress has promised to work with relevant stakeholders to retain its occupancy of the Kogi State Government House. This was when stakeholders of the party from Kogi East visited the National Working Committee at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja. Salihu Gwanara reports.
Leaders of the Audu Faleki APC group from Kogi East met members of the National Working Committee behind closed door. At the end of the meeting, leader of the group, Dangana Ocheja, says, in view of the political dynamics as showcased during the last general elections, the engagement between the party's hierarchy and the stakeholders is to propose a level playing ground for aspirants ahead of the Kogi State governorship primary election.
I know the National Working Committee, they are men of integrity, and they will not do otherwise. They will not like to fail the party, because I'm sorry, if we don't get direct, that means we'll just sit down at home not to go and do anything. Because if you don't believe in the cause, you cannot give any support.
Meanwhile, the Agro-Commodities Directorate of the 2023 Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council has called for the review of the 2023 election results in the Southeast.
The mandate of all APC members who won, but were deprived of their victory by irregularity and absolute criminality, must be retrieved. And this, like I said, cut across all members of the party who were robbed of their mandate.
The Directorate promised to make public details of alleged electoral malpractices that led to the defeat of APC in some parts of Southeast. In Abuja, Salio Gwanara, NTA News.
And in Adamawa State, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party is demanding that the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner for Adamawa State, Malam Yunusa Ari, should not pretend the conduct of the re-run governorship election in the state on April 15, 2023. Timothy Yusuf reports on this and other happenings in the party.
The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Debo Ologunagba, on behalf of the National Working Committee, disclosed that from credible information available to the party, INEC is allegedly stoking a breakdown of law and order in Adamawa State with the continued stay in office of Malam Hudu Yunusa Ari as Adamawa State Resident Electoral Commissioner, in spite of his alleged complicity in the plots to manipulate the outcome of the governorship election in the state, even with PDP's clear lead of 31,299 lawful votes in the election.
In view of these grave allegations, and evidence of audio tape already in the public domain, Malam Yunusa Ari should immediately recuse himself from superintending and or conducting the rerun governorship election in Adamawa State on April 15, 2023.
The PDP drew attention to the fact that INEC relieved the resident electoral commissioner in Sokoto State, Dr. Nura Ali, over allegations of irregularities in the conduct of the just concluded elections in that state, stressing that there was no justification for the continued stay of Malam Yunusa Ari as resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State in view of the issues surrounding the Adamawa governorship polls. Meanwhile, former vice president and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has dismissed insinuations that he has a favored aspirant among those jostling for the party's governorship ticket in Kogi State. In a statement by his media advisor, Paul Ibe, Atiku advocated a level playing field in the forthcoming exercise, saying that reports suggesting that any of the aspirants have his backing should be disregarded. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And away from politics now, the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority and Vitol, a Geneva-based organization, have signed Carbon Vista joint venture agreements aimed at raising funds for the implementation of some key issues in addressing climate change. The sum of $50 million is planned for the initial takeoff of the venture. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo says the collaboration will be of great benefit to the people. State House correspondent Didi Onifade reports.
As Vice President Yemi Osinbajo notes during the signing ceremony of the Carbon Vista Joint Venture Agreement, nations are considering what to do to transit to net zero emissions in order to protect the environment and the climate, at least to avoid the consequences of climate change, which have been predicted would be of immense proportion.
One of the things that this tells us, the Carbon Vista Fund tells us, is that we are set for the sorts of collaboration that are required between the public sector, the private sector, and of course the third sector, the civil society. The truth of the matter is that we are left with no choice today in the world. And for many who are taking the developments in the whole climate change story seriously, it's evident that every day reminds us that we are now, we get closer and closer to the point of no return. And that if we are not careful, we may indeed find ourselves with tragedy of immense proportions.
The Vice President also speaks on the opening available that Africa can benefit from in the transition process.
There's a way by which Africa and indeed Nigeria can benefit immensely from what is coming to us. In other words, Africa can become the first truly green civilization, the first civilization on earth to use renewable fuels for purposes of a transformative economic journey. And how can we do that? Of course we can do that because, first of all, we are the lowest emitters today. And if we are going to develop our industry for the rest of the world, we can start from where we are today. We do not have to start from where the rest of the world has.
In the first instance, we are doing $50 million. Okay. However, the whole point of this is to invest in 2 to 3 propositions, and on that basis, raise additional capital, raise additional third-party capital. The potential of this is limitless, but we first need to just demonstrate that we are able to originate, we are able to invest, we are able to generate credit, and we're able to monetize those credits, and then additional private capital will come in.
So Nigeria stands to benefit from a number of different things. One of them will be foreign direct investment, so this is an initial phase in that. Public-private partnerships, as the NSIA VTOL partnership is a clear example of, but also on top of the investments, there will be lots of co-benefits for the local people.
Vice President Osinbajo promised that everything that needs to be done as government and private sector would be carried out to ensure that it is supported to achieve all of its objectives. From the banquet hall of the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Looking at other issues now, the NNPC Limited says it read with utmost dismay a report by an online platform, Sahara Reporters, alleging it paid the sum of 20 billion naira to ghost consultants, also alleging theft of multi-billion naira tax due to Ogun State government. The NNPC Limited wishes to state that as a responsible organization, it does not have or deal with ghost consultants. A statement by Garba Dean Muhammad, Chief Corporate Communications Officer, NNPC Limited, says at NNPC Limited, the process of engaging consultants whenever the need arises is clear and verifiable and follow global best practices. It is therefore unfortunate that for whatever reason, the said online platform would make such a grievous allegation without thinking of the consequences of such actions. NNPC Limited states categorically that the claim of a missing 20 billion naira is absolutely false and baseless. The NNPC Limited therefore demands that Sahara Reporters retracts the said publication immediately, and going forward, the platform should verify its facts before going to press. The second component of the said unfortunate report is related to Ogun State government claiming a back duty tax liability of about 18 billion naira against an NNPC subsidiary, the Petroleum Products Marketing Company, PPMC Limited. For clarity, PPMC had objected and challenged the claim through its tax consultant. Consequently, the Ogun State government took the matter to court, which is not unusual in business circles. The matter is currently before the court, and NNPC Limited will prove its case accordingly. For a matter that is already in court, as admitted by the online publication, it is sad that any medium can arrive at such false conclusions as shown by the actions of the online medium. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the Executive Vice Chairman of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, Professor Mohammed Sani Haruna, to immediately hand over his office to the next most senior officer in the establishment. This follows the reversal of the extension in office granted by the President from 2nd April 2023 to 2nd of April 2025 due to the fact that the EVC had completed 2 tenures of 5 years each in the organization. The President appreciates the contributions of Professor Haruna in the development of the engineering infrastructure subsector of the economy and wishes him success in his future endeavors. The National Population Commission, NPC, has pledged to keep mobilizing Nigerians through an inclusive approach for the nationwide headcount in May 2023. At a strategic meeting in Abuja with heads of media agencies, the Commission identified aggressive sensitization to achieve credible and transparent census data. Olusheye Adiagbo brings us details.
The federal government in February 2023 inaugurated a National Census Publicity Committee, NCPC, chaired by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, and heads of national advocacy agencies, media outfits, as well as civil society groups as members to strengthen the 2023 census advocacy.
We know that because of
this workshop is to equip the NCPC members with necessary information on census processes and methodology.
We'll be relying on your expertise and structures to drive the message into every home and every household to drum up support and participation in the census exercise.
The federal government is indeed satisfied with the commitment, the hard work, and the relentless efforts of the NPC to conduct a transformative and digital census that will be acceptable by all.
The areas that identified the
participants engaged resource persons on viability of the census instruments and visibility of meeting the goal.
We want to escalate the drive towards public awareness so that every Nigerian will be well aware of all the issues about the census.
But with the enlightenment that have started, at both top and bottom, they're all saying that the census is for our own development.
Organizers emphasized that the engagement will help in the quest for a successful conduct of the 2023 census, as well as generate evidence-based demographic data for development planning purposes. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
And away from the upcoming census, now looking at the economy, cases of money laundering and financing of terrorist organizations by shady groups have been a source of worry to the anti-graft agencies and the Central Bank of Nigeria. To ensure that transactions are made transparently through the Nigerian financial system, regulatory agencies have stepped up surveillance on bureau de change operators towards apprehending unscrupulous ones among them who act as conduit pipes for illicit deals. Olabode Arewa reports.
Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa has estimated that money laundering has been a major vulnerability, partly responsible for underdevelopment in ECOWAS member countries. The ECOWAS organ identified illicit funds transactions by foreign exchange bureaus as a key outlet for this. Gathered in this all are bureau de change operators, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and anti-graft agencies, strategizing on ways to improving their capacity for identifying and dislodging illicit financial networks in the Nigerian system.
The NRA noted concerns about the preponderance of unlicensed BDCs. It's a very efficient way of disguising the true origin of illegal proceeds.
The CBN says a more rigorous licensing process is now in place to weed out unscrupulous bureau de change operators.
It is therefore essential that we have a strong regulatory framework in place that governs the licensing, supervision, and sanctioning of these operators.
We align with the calls for preventive measures against money laundering, terrorism financing.
In 2022, President Muhammadu Buhari signed 3 laws on money laundering and terrorism financing, and these reforms, experts say, have no doubt improved the nation's ratings on the global financial stage. In Abuja, Olabodarewa, NTA News.
In other news, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and the Nigerian Customs Service have signed a memorandum of understanding on intelligence sharing in the fight against drug trafficking and smuggling. Abdulmalik Hassan reports that the two agencies also promise to strengthen operations in land and sea borders.
Just a black and white document, but comes with strength to ensure the Nigeria's airport, seaports, as well the land borders are well protected against smuggling of illicit drugs and substances. The Nigerian Customs Service has been involved in the seizure of illicit drugs and has a long-standing synergy with the NDLEA. Today, the quest for more intelligence sharing and the zeal to fight the organized crime is strengthened.
The MOU being signed today is of great significance in many respects. This will provide an effective defense line at our various ports of entry and exit to prevent the influx of offensive materials and substances that undermine our national security and ensure that our national assets are not smuggled out to undermine our economic progress and stability.
Then comes a strong assurance from the customs boss, whose commitment is to ensure success of the memo.
We are willing and ready to ensure that we protect our borders from illicit trafficking of drugs.
With this comes tougher days for drug peddlers. Abdulmalik Hassan, NTA News.
Now looking at security, normalcy has been restored in Dabna Hung local government area of Adamawa State following a recent attack on the community by unknown gunmen. Simon Asher reports that the Adamawa State Police Command is carrying out investigation to bring perpetrators to book.
The people of Damna, mostly farmers, woke up Monday morning with an attack by unknown gunmen. As a result, 3 people were killed with houses, shops, and vehicles, among other valuables, burnt, leaving the residents in a sorrowful situation. The Adamawa State Police Command says normalcy has been restored in the area as investigation is ongoing to unravel the perpetrators of the act.
We would like to use this opportunity to appeal to members of the public, particularly those in Damna and its environs, to remain calm and be very supportive to the security agencies that we are going after the perpetrators and possibly bring them to book. On the other aspect, deployment were equally made to prevent such from reoccurring, not only in Damna, but all the communities around.
In Yola, Simon Asher, NTA News.
And in Kaduna State, the government has confirmed that 8 students of Awon Secondary School and other citizens in Kachia local government area of the state have been kidnapped by bandits. In a statement by the Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says government also verified that the students were not kidnapped within the school premises, but on their way home from the school. The Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, has condemned the incident, assuring parents and security agencies, with the support of the state government, will do everything possible to rescue the students. Meanwhile, the 24-hour curfew imposed in Sabungarin, Nasarawa, Tinknia in Chikun local government area as a result of urban gang violence has been relaxed. Movement is now allowed between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with effect from Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. Meanwhile, troops of Operation Well Punch, in conjunction with Defense Headquarters, Special Forces on clearance operations in terrorist enclaves in Birini Gwari local government area of Kaduna State, have eliminated 11 terrorists and recovered several arms. A statement by the Director, Defense Media Information, Major General Musa Damadami, says troops engaged the terrorists at Kakangi. Now, still talking security, the Defense Headquarters has reacted to a video clip of some United Nations peacekeeping fighting vehicles and equipment sighted recently in Benin, Edo State. A statement by the Acting Director, Defense Media Operation, Brigadier General Tukuruguso, says the operational vehicles were on transit to Warri Port for movement to peacekeeping mission area in southern Sudan alongside the nation's troops who were inducted into UNISFA mission last month. The Defense Headquarters assures Nigerians that the nation is not under any threat that will warrant the deployment of United Nations troops in the country. The President-elect, Bola Tinubu, felicitates with former Governor of Edo State, Comrade Adams Oshomole, as he clocks 71. Oshomole, who was at different times President of the Nigerian Labour Congress and National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, also served as the Deputy Director General of the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council in the run-up to the Tinubu's election as President. The President-elect noted the contributions of Comrade Oshomole to the welfare and security of workers in the country and to national development as a Labour leader, and how he deepened democracy and good governance in Edo State, where he served as governor for 8 years. He commended Oshomole for demonstrating courage and greater commitment in all his previous leadership positions. It's now time to head to Lagos, and Adeola is there. Adeola, what's the latest?
Thank you. We still have security matters here in Lagos. Although the Lagos State Police Command has vowed to curb cultism and eliminate violence induced by cultist groups, but the public is calling for increased accessibility and visibility within the metropolis. Michael Olaleye in this report sought the views of residents on policing in Lagos.
Police in a metropolitan city like Lagos could be tricky due to the huge population and dynamics of crime. For all the years John Gaspar has spent in the city, he has no understanding of traffic robbery until he helplessly watched in daylight how a student was harassed a few months ago.
I was on the bus and we came across a guy trying to rob another, maybe a school student, and we were unable to do anything because he was holding a gun. So those are the things that we need to also look at.
The police in Lagos is aware of this trend. In fact, in its post-election analysis, the force identified cultism as the major bane to public security.
A component where we need the support of NTA and the citizens, that is to address the social factors that do underlie the challenge of cultism. When these operations become strengthened, the citizens should see the initiative as another attempt to protect them. So they should cooperate with the police in the public space.
Most of those I interacted with could not specifically pinpoint areas of security needs that required attention, apart from traffic robbery. They, however, scored the police high with expectations that there is room for improvement, especially in the area of increasing visibility.
We are response to crime in some certain areas where it's probably hot. Of course, you see them, God knows when the whole situation probably is has escalated to the end.
In that area, they need to reorientate them to see themselves as real friends of the people.
The police said the knowledge and expertise garnered during the last general elections will be utilized to increase and guarantee safety of lives and property. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Now let's talk health. Cervical cancer is preventable but still claims lives daily. According to the World Health Organization, 33 new cases and 20 deaths are recorded daily globally. The Nigerian Institute of Medical Research is collaborating with partners to create more awareness on vaccinating girls against human papilloma virus, HPV, and routine screening for women for early detection. Hengino John Adams tells us more.
2 years ago, my sister-in-law, Angie, died from cervical cancer in Nigeria. She never screened. You know, she's like one of 28 women that will die before the end of today from something we could actually prevent. If only there was screening, if only there was vaccination, Angie will be alive with us today.
A sad experience there for Juliet Iwelumo Ezepwe, a professor of global health. Research by the World Health Organization reveals that 1 woman dies every 2 minutes from the disease. Key players in the Nigerian health sector are worried by the figures, and this ideation session, titled "For Girls and Women," is aimed at coming up with robust cervical cancer prevention strategy as part of their contribution towards ending the disease by 2030.
If you vaccinate women and young girls 9 to 15 years of age, and you screen women above 30 years of age, you will ensure you will eradicate cervical cancer.
Government is already taking steps to initiate that, included in the national program on immunization, to ensure that the vaccine is provided like every other vaccine in the country. And they've assured that by the year 2023, that means before the year ends, it will be rolled out on the NPI program. So hopefully every Nigerian girl will have access to HPV vaccination.
It is expected that with programs like this, Nigeria will meet the target of ending cervical cancer by 2030. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
Do not forget that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. There will be more reports with here in Abuja after this time out. To stay with us.
Ahead of planned mass production of electric cars in Nigeria, the National Automotive Design and Development Council has commenced deployment of charging infrastructure across the country.
To push EVs, people thought we were a little bit crazy because they're saying, what are the power challenges? So we went ahead, we designed, strategized, and built 3 100% solar-powered electric vehicle charging stations to prove that, yes, even off the grid, you can power an electric vehicle in Nigeria. We built these charging stations at 3 universities, University of Lagos, University of Nigeria Nsukka, and Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. We did this at universities so as to engage young Nigerians, bring this advanced technology to their doorsteps, and ask them, okay, this is what we have now, come up with something even better for applicability in Nigeria and Africa. And we've also just built a 4th one here at our headquarters here in Abuja. This one also has a fast charger that can fast these vehicles in record time. So the game is on. Nigeria is part of it. We're encouraging more. We're discussing with more partners to really come into Nigeria, into the EV game.
And now taking a look at the markets, Nigerian equities market, which opened the month of April in red, decreased further by 0.27% as investors lost 84 billion naira. At the end of today's trading session, a total of 294.7 million shares in 4,590 deals, corresponding to a market value of 3.066 billion naira were traded. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 1% improvement in volume, 29% improvement in turnover, and 4% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 29.4 trillion naira. Fidelity Bank recorded the highest volume of 46.6 million traded shares, followed by Owando 33.4 million and Transcorp Nigeria 30.7 million. Well, that is business news. Network news continues after this break.
And that's NTA Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember that the 2023 census is just a number of days away, actually from the 3rd of May to the 7th of May. You count, so be counted. I'm Ian Ray John. Have a good night.